Welcome. Welcome everybody. How are you doing today? It's so very nice to have you here. And I'm very much looking forward to our New Year's intensive, the true meaning of surrender, and the role of the nervous system in awakening and in freedom. There is a lot of understanding and misunderstanding about what surrender really is. So often we believe that surrender is some particular kind of action, or that surrender is a certain way of being or behaving, when in truth, in the deepest meaning of truth, surrender happens when the mind merges in the heart. So that means when the thought, when the sense of I merges in our true nature. I'm sure you have heard this expression, let thy will be done. Let thy will be done. What does it mean? What does it mean, let thy will be done? That means let's follow that movement that directly arises in presence, rather than the movement that arises in the sense of I. So, day by day, surrender means really paying attention and following that movement that arises here. And that movement is independent. It's independent of our past, it's independent of what we think, it's independent of what others think. And so often the mind has its reasons, right? So if we are used to following the mind, we'll be listening to the reasons rather than noticing that natural movement that arises here. Just a little example, as I was sitting here before starting this video, the mind arose and said, what do you have to say about surrender? Right? Very, very interesting. So over the years of sitting with students and sitting with what arises here, and through my very own direct experience of awakening and freedom, I have come to see the importance of the nervous system and its role in our capacity to be here, and therefore its role in the awakening and freedom. There are many elements that are necessary for awakening. Desire of truth being one of them, or discrimination. However, the capacity of the nervous system to be here is oftentimes that missing link between our desire for truth. How we often think or say, or, I want to be free. I want to awaken. I want to know the truth, right? So this is the missing link between the desire for truth or a practical application of it, and between our actual capacity to be here when past arises. Because when past arises, and by past I mean unfinished, unmet tendencies that bring us here. So when past arises, it often shows up in our physiology. And because of that, it looks very real, because we experience a faster heartbeat, or sweaty hands, or shaking in the body, or some other feeling or emotion, right, or sensation. It makes it look very, very real, right? It also, the past oftentimes affects the nervous system, and the nervous system habitually goes into fight, flight, freeze, overwhelm, or collapse. And if we don't know, if we don't understand the mechanics of the nervous system and brain, if we don't know how to help it to be here, we are really missing the opportunity to translate our desire for truth into an actual ability to be here moment by moment, no matter what arises. It's very powerful when we can actually help this little nervous system to be here, when we can teach it, how to be here, so that we don't have to, so that our attention doesn't have to get pulled by the arising past. So I will be speaking about all this and more in our upcoming New Year's Intensive, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you there.